So, Ty, have you ever asked a copilot or a chatbot a question and thought, wait, where did they really get that answer from? So, imagine if your AI could not only cite its own sources, but it can actually retrieve information from every nook and cranny of your organization, from all those manuals, those SharePoint sites, other clouds, and maybe even public websites all at one go.
And what if you didn't have to glue together half a dozen pipelines just to make it happen? Well, guys, today we are diving into the new world where it's all around plugging in your knowledge and your agents just work. No more DIY rag stacks. So, guys, welcome back to AzBytes, the show where we explore all things cloud and AI on Microsoft Azure. I'm Ty, and today I am absolutely delighted to say we have got a distinguished co-host and good friend, John.
Thank you very much, Ty. Yeah, look, in this episode, we're talking about Foundry IQ. So it's a brand new capability that was announced this year at Ignite, and it's in Microsoft Foundry. So if we think about Foundry IQ and what it is, it's that unified knowledge layer that's going to give all our AI agents a single endpoint for company knowledge. It's going to automatically handle source routing, and it's got advanced agentic retrieval, whilst respecting all of those user permissions that we've known and we've put in place over the time. So this means smart answers, less plumbing, as you said, Ty, and more time to build that business value.
It absolutely does. So if you're building copilots, chatbots, or any agents that need enterprise context, you're going to love this because we're going to break down what it is, why it matters, and how we can get started. So, John, why don't you lead us away?
Yeah, no, absolutely, Ty. So look, I suppose let's try and set the stage like we usually do in these episodes. Traditional retrieval augmented generation, or RAG as we know it was great, and it still is great. But every team ended up rebuilding that same pipeline, ingesting those same documents, chunking, vectorizing all that information into vector databases, setting up all of those embeddings, handling access control, all whilst writing multiple, to multiple data sources essentially. So that sounds great and it's all brilliant, but it's really going to slow down that development, and that lead time to development. And it often leaves the developers with fragmented solutions, Ty.
And do you know what? Most RAG systems really hit a wall when questions require multiple data sources or information from multiple different places. So a single query against one index won't actually answer a really complex multi-step question. And do you know what? Foundry IQ changes all of that by introducing knowledge bases, which are basically reusable, topic-centric collections that multiple agents and apps can call through a single API. How cool is that, John?
No, brilliant. Exactly. And you mentioned that word knowledge base, Ty. So I guess, let's delve into what that is really. So if we talk about a knowledge base and what it is, it's really that encapsulation of a particular information domain, let's say. So like HR policies or maybe a technical support ticket system, it's going to be able to handle index sources, whether that's SharePoint, OneLake, Blob Storage, and also federated sources such as web or maybe even some MCP servers that you might have access to. Foundry IQ is automatically going to ingest, chunk, vectorize, and enrich content, even extracting tables and figures from those documentations. So you don't have to write any of that custom indexing code that you might need to do. That's going to be a massive time saver, Ty.
Absolutely. And do you know what? You're going to love this bit. What you do is choose a model for planning and synthesis. Set how much retrieval effort you want, so minimal or iterative or anything in between. You then tell the knowledge base what output you're trying to get. So if it's raw or synthesized, then do you know what? You simply point to your sources, and then Foundry IQ handles all of it, chunking, vectorization, and continues to update indexes in the background. How cool is that?
It's amazing, Ty. It's like trying to work out how it happens, and really it is magic, right? And this is what is happening as part of this process now with Foundry IQ. So basically, when an agent calls a knowledge base, Foundry IQ's agentic retrieval engine is going to treat that retrieval as a reasoning task, essentially. It plans what searches it needs to do, it decomposes that user question or prompt, and it's going to decide which sources to consult. It rewrites those queries. It's going to issue multiple searches across the whole context of Foundry IQ, and it's going to really evaluate whether it's got enough of a signal, and it'll iterate through as it needs to. So all of this is going to happen even before the answer is synthesized and returned with all of those citations in place, Ty.
And do you know what? I've seen, I'm going to come on to this a little bit more, but developers, first of all, is going to love the control of the retrieval reasoning effort. So it's, for instance, faster lookups for simple questions or higher effort for complex ones. But I've seen some demos recently where the retrieval engine actually broke down a really complex technician's question into three aspects, and that was equipment detail, label meaning, and repair policy. Ran 15 queries across three different sources, so that were OneLake, SharePoint, and the web. Iterated it twice and returned with a consolidated answer with, the best part about it, references. Now, can you imagine doing that, manually? It'd be a nightmare.
It's surprising. I think that the pace of change is phenomenal, Ty, and we're kind of living and breathing it now. So it's great to see. I guess, look, from a security perspective, and governance perspective, enterprise customers, they all worry about these things, right? It's compliance, and quite rightly so. Foundry IQ is going to honor all of that Entra ID based permissions and any purview sensitivity labels that are in place across your organization at the minute. It's going to support that document level access control for both indexes and any remote sources that you might put in there. So all of those confidential docs are going to stay confidential. So in other words, the rules that you put and defined across all of your data, they all flow into the knowledge base with it. So it's great to know that, Ty, right?
Yeah, that's brilliant. Right, so let's think around some of the matters for business and business benefits and so on and so forth. So the way that I'm seeing it is benefits are basically twofold. The first one from, I'm going to say, more of a technical perspective. Foundry IQ eliminates the need for each team to build their own retrieval stack, period. So what does that do? Accelerate development and making RAG more reliable. The second one, business-wise, so multiple source retrieval improves answer quality. So in our own evaluations with Microsoft, using query planning and iterative search delivered nearly or up to 40% gain in answer scores, which is massive. All right. Now, combining multiple private sources, it produced nearly 90% accuracy, and adding them public web data to internal data or supplement it were basically boosted by, I don't know, 30 points, which is massive as well.
It's compelling, right? I think it really is compelling, and real customers are seeing these results as well. From what I can see, Ty, I saw that AT&T, they've just gone public now. They built this multi-agent framework on Azure AI Search, and they reduced their customer resolution times, near enough, like you're saying, by about 33%. They cut average handle time by nearly 10% and scaled 71 solutions, believe it or not, up to 100,000 employees. It's unbelievable when you look at the scale of these things. Another example, looking at Canadian, the power generation, the Ontario power generation facilities, they used agentic retrieval to really sift through 40 years of nuclear operating experience, Ty. 40 years. I think we've all got those archives in our businesses at some stage. I've certainly dealt with a few in my time. They put those critical insights really straight at their engineers' fingertips. You're like, how do you do that? Those aren't just incremental improvements. They truly are transformational, right?
Certainly are. Now, John, as our resident ragaholic, do you like what I did there?
Oh, lovely.
Do you remember how many pipelines you've written over the last year? Come on, be honest.
Do you know what, Ty? Let's just say I probably spent more time chunking documents than I care for, okay? And the beauty about this announcement of Foundry IQ, it might finally give me all of my nights back, Ty.
And to think, our tech support agents can now read manuals from OneLake, pick up policies from SharePoint, or grab standards from the web without juggling millions of APIs. So it's like giving you an AI with a Swiss Army knife. How cool's
No,
that?
yeah, it really is, Ty. Exactly that, and I think, if folks, if you're wondering, whether we need to iterate more, or we've built a fine-tuned model that tells us when to stop, saving tokens and time, these are the things that we can do now with Foundry IQ. My teenager could learn a thing or two about stopping when enough is enough, right?
It is. Now, John, let's wrap this up for our viewers. All right. The big breakthrough is that Foundry IQ turns knowledge retrieval basically into a managed service. You define the knowledge base once, you plug in your sources and models, and every agent can then tap into it. You get better answers because the engine plans and iterates across multiple sources, as we've already discussed. You can maintain your own organizational security and security policy. And then you can also supplement it with things like purview labels, which are coming along for the ride. Brilliant, eh?
Yeah, exactly, Ty. I guess that the days of building those bespoke rag pipelines for each and every project are pretty much going to be over. The idea is Foundry IQ is going to make building agents less like reinventing the wheel every time, and pretty much more like choosing your own adventure, right? Whether you're an IT pro, a developer, or a business leader, this is really the future of AI on Azure.
It certainly is. Now let's wrap this up then. So, are people ready to use it? I hope so. And if they want to experiment or try, then why don't they head over to the links that were put in the chat? You can basically create and look at how we've done the mechanics and do some deep dives, different reference material, but more importantly, how you can potentially get started and experiment.
Yeah, thanks as always, Ty. And look, if you've liked this episode, smash that like button, subscribe to AzBytes, and let us know in the comments below how you plan to play with and start to use Foundry IQ in your organization. But until next time, keep your knowledge sharp and your agents sharper. You might say, we're forging the future together. See you next time.
Thanks. Bye.